You want to take this paper?
I want the details on that paper.
I need the details also. Can you write down for me again? The outline, huh? You just copy out for me the.
That's why I want to
This one.
write down for you because
Thank you. This part
you have to
here.
mention
Huh?
this part.
Okay. All right, Ken, come on, let's go on there. Come.
Thank you. So I'll just put on this.
Yes. Oh, you don't have to.
Oh, I don't have
you
to.
don't have
Oh,
to.
okay.
It's a lot more better for you when you don't.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So I speak to the microphone here.
$12.17, Traxx Momentum on Traxx FM, migrating to Australia. Good man. Okay, now we have the author in the studios over here. What it says about this book first. Migrating to Australia. Good Man by Michael and Ken Soong, two brothers that have been living in Australia for quite some time. This book presents the bittersweet and sour truth based on the author's experiences as Malaysian migrants living in Australia from the perspectives of not only Malaysians but also Southeast Asians about the so-called more equal opportunities, advanced, liberal, democratic, what was this? Fair way of life.
Yeah, laissez-faire.
Laissez-faire in the land of Australia, which is supposed to be better than Malaysia in any way, in every respect. So there you go. We're going to find out if it's all rosy, nice, and dandy, yeah?
Yes.
So first of all, Ken Soong, welcome to our studios. Good to have you here at Traxx FM. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Nigel, for having me.
So how long was this book written? When did you write this book?
We wrote this book about 2000 and end of 2011, 2012.
Right.
Yeah, I also remember 2013. You know, yeah, that's right.
And-
One of the days that I was writing, I turned on the computer, open another window. I saw the tsunami in Japan.
Right.
So that was those times. Yeah.
That was the thing over there, right?
Yeah.
So you grew up in Malaysia,
Yes.
and you've been away working in Australia.
Yes.
And where did you grow up in Malaysia?
In Kepong, KL, and then later in my high school years, we moved to PJ.
Okay.
So I studied in Sultan Abdul Samad.
All right.
My brother as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then you went to Australia, and when was that?
Okay, and then we went to I went to Stanford College. My brother went to Taylor's College, and from there, we went to university in Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to Chartered University in Wagga Wagga, in a small place in New South Wales.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you were going there, what was your deciding factor? What made you want to go there for your studies? I know it's studies, but
Yeah.
why did you choose Australia?
Okay, first of all, I think the budget that we have, right? My parents thought Australia is nearer, and also I went to this small town because cost of living was much lower. Yeah,
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. And did you think you'd ever be a writer and come up with a book like this?
No.
Not in the wildest dreams.
No, not in my wildest dream.
And how did it start? I mean, how did you get down to picking up a pen and writing about it?
Okay, I do enjoy writing,
Uh-huh.
but the kind of writing I do mainly, letters and then
Love
email.
letters. Yes. Okay.
Including love letters.
Yes. Were you ever paid at school to write a letter for a friend?
No.
Where you get a friend and comes in and says, I'm interested in this girl, can you write me a letter? And
No, not that good. Not that good.
Okay.
Not good enough, in fact. Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
So and then back to this book again. And how did you start?
Okay, so well, when we came back in 2000, in 1996, 97, after graduation, we worked for a few years, and then we decided to go back to Australia because we thought Australia has a more relaxing lifestyle. But little did we know that in Australia, life as a student and life as a migrant is a totally different things. Two different things.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What were you thinking before you went? I mean, what was in your mind? What do you think?
We thought that, well, the land is big, a lot of personal space. It's very relaxing, and we get a few friends, and we can feel really close. So we get a job, we have our financial needs met, things like that. But we weren't paying taxes there, we were students, and we weren't paying the council rates. And there's so many nitty-gritties, so many things in life that we have to deal with. I'm not saying that Australia is that terrible, but
That's right.
Basically, Australia.
We're not saying that Australia is terrible, full stop. We're not saying anything horrible about Australia.
Definitely not.
What
Definitely
we're
not.
talking about, the conception that a lot of people have in their minds before they go to a foreign place, to somewhere else.
Yes,
And
yes.
they have this thing in their mind, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it just doesn't happen to be that later on. And you are going to be able to tell us about some experience over there. It is not about Australia at all. Australian embassy, please don't get jumping all around the place over there.
Not at all,
Just
not at all.
relax. Good morning. We love Australia. Yes. Okay, go on.
Yeah.
And
Right. So, well, in the first few years, we kind of like, really enjoy the change. For a change, we're living in a different place, meet new set of challenges, learn new things, learn about the culture, and start to see things from different perspectives. We even see ourselves differently. In fact, we see ourselves more Malaysians, than we were before. And being, KL born and bred, but not much well-traveled in our lives. We thought that a lot of good things are out there, in the Western world or in the developed world. So as time goes by, because we've been there now like 11 years, we start to see, how far we can go and, how far we have come to, and how far more we can go in terms of our careers or in terms of, meeting our expectations that we had before we came, before we went over to Australia. So now we are more realistic. Now we are more grounded because I read somewhere, every time someone moves to a new place, you get this honeymoon period first.
okay.
And then you have a reality check.
Okay.
You hit a brick wall.
The honeymoon first, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So I think we have passed the honeymoon,
Uh-huh.
and we have passed the brick wall experience.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah.
So that's where you felt that you wanted to write something about it and inform people.
Exactly.
Right.
And you see, my brother and I, we're really close, so we sit down and talk sometimes over a drink, over a meal, and with some friends, and we realize that there's so many things that has been left unspoken, missing in the public discourse. Malaysians come back very often, but perhaps during this holiday mood, things conveniently got forgotten.
Right.
They might not really like to go into depth because, I mean, let's face it, I also think like this. When I was in Malaysia, everyone who comes back from Australia, we always ask them how's the life there or America and all that. Sometimes they say some, shortcomings, but we sort of like refuse to accept it. It's hard to imagine when we're not there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So what's it like now over there in Australia? What is the scene when you talk about Malaysians in Australia and what you've been seeing over there? What did you leave when you came here?
Okay.
What did you leave seeing in Australia?
Right. Now there are two groups of people, broadly speaking. The first group of people is like, they like it so much, they feel that there is no problem, right? I mean, they used to complain when they live in Malaysia, and then they left, they find, a perfect place. Some of them have told us that they don't even feel any discriminations. I mean, in this little book that we have,
Right.
some of the interviews, we do have a couple who say that there was no discrimination at all.
And they face discrimination here?
I think, maybe, I'm not
Okay.
so sure, but yeah, could be, yes, could be.
Uh-huh.
And of course, some of them are more realistic. They say, yeah, we do have some problems. Everywhere we go, we face all these problems as long as they are human beings, So I find these people a bit more perhaps realistic.
Right.
And then there's another group of people, the second group is that they left, because they decided that this is not the place for them, they left. And there are some second generation Malaysians, right, who actually born and grew up there. And they moved to Singapore. They moved to Malaysia or Hong Kong, to further their career because they see more opportunities in high corporate positions because of their caliber and all that, not being fully tapped over there.
Right.
And I wouldn't say it's 100% due to discrimination. It could be because of the development there is not happening so fast. There isn't much of a development at the moment. So if you drive around, in the cities like Melbourne, Sydney, and all that, you see a few shopping malls, but you will see a few shopping malls just like that 5 years down the track. You don't see a lot of differences. But when I come back here after 9 years, I find that almost every corner, right, you have highways and flyovers. You know, from one shopping mall to the other, right? 9 years back, I get another 3 more, right? Moving from A to B.
Right. So in your case, you're saying that a lot of people think the grass is greener somewhere else.
Yes.
But in actuality, when you come back over here, you find that you have a nice softer patch of grass that's actually there for you. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, Nigel, you put it aptly, you know, because a lot of us think that just by being in a place that is ranked, more favorably in the world ranking, will automatically lead us to a better life. You know, I mean, if some people are super rich, you know, I mean, that doesn't concern them.
Yes.
I'm reaching out to people like myself, you know, especially people who are in the 30s, in the 40s, you know, at the peak of their career. If they are ambitious, right? If they think they haven't done enough in their career, I think, you know, they better stay put. Or, you know, they should go to some other places in Southeast Asia where there are more opportunities. You see, smart Americans, smart Australians, smart Westerners, they are coming down here precisely because they see opportunity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I was wondering about the chefs who come here and admire our food and
Exactly.
and we're going all around elsewhere, and thinking that we're getting good food just because we're paying a lot more.
Exactly.
And yeah.
That's right.
So
I mean, we have come to a stage like living there for 9 years, 10 years, and all that. Every city, you know, in the Western world, you have the same brands, you know. Of course, unfortunately, this thing is happening around the world, what they call globalization. You know, every little, you know, shopping mall, you get a Starbucks. But still, we get a lot of local, you know, varieties here.
yes.
And like what you say, the chefs are coming down here, you know,
Yes.
yeah, to taste the differences.
That's right.
Yeah.
So do you have a lot of do you have people who go down there like Malaysians who go there and after a little while over there they start to talk to you and they maybe they say like, oh, I'm so happy I left Malaysia, and then after a few years later they eat their words, or
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
does that happen a lot?
Yes, including myself.
Okay.
I see myself as a very westernized person. My brother and I, you know, we listen to Guns N' Roses, you know, Metallica. Not to say we are very westernized, but we have preconceived notion of what the Western world would be like. You know, looking from Malaysia, not realizing that actually we Malaysians already have our own culture, right? That includes Western elements, but it's
Right.
our very own. When I'm driving around here, I listen to the English songs, but I'm listening to the Malaysian selection of English songs.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah, there are
Okay.
Americans, there are British, but it's to our taste.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're a very unique people actually, and a lot of people don't realize that.
Exactly.
And, okay. So now about your book over here. Let's talk about your chapter 1. Is Western culture better for you? What was the gist behind writing that?
Okay. I guess you know, we just thought it's appropriate to, you know, bust a few myths, you know, the common myths that we have about Western cultures
Okay.
from our perspective, or if not from Malaysian perspective.
All right. What are the common myths?
The common myth is, you know, we see, you know, the first sight we have of Westerners is when we were young from Malaysia. We saw these backpackers walking around, you know, leaving no stones unturned, checking every corner. You know, we thought they are very open, you know.
Right.
Obviously they are. That's why they are here in this part of the world.
Okay.
But when we are in the other part, we do see some people who haven't got a passport in their 50s, you know, and the first country they go to is America, and the second country is America again. You see, so they are very, very close-up people as well. I guess these people are everywhere.
Yes.
You know, just like we do have some close-minded people here in Malaysia.
That's right.
Yeah, so, but we tend to associate Westerners being open, liberal, and all that. I'm not trying to, you know, paint a bad picture about them. I'm saying that, yes, there are people like very open and very democratic and liberal, you know, very kind, benign people. They do, you know, charity work all over. But at the same time, there are also people like us, you know, people with shortcomings like ours, you know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you wrote about land of opportunities.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, land of opportunities with a question mark over there. So what was that about?
Okay, now land of opportunity is, I would say, you know, it's a image, or it's an idea, or it's a perception that we have about the Western world when they first developed, right? When we were, you know, like back in those days before we were even a nation, you know, yes, you know, in America, 1930s or, you know, 19th century or, you know, 18th century America, yes, those were the days where they have lots and lots of opportunities, right? But because, you know, they are now so matured, you know, it's like an old man reaching his 60s or 70s. So his needs will be more, less volatile, right? And he tend to focus on medical needs and things like that. Same thing as a country, you know, now the economy, you know, yes, we do have a lot of jobs, but for the aged care, you know, for the nurses, for the doctors, you know, for insurance company, for the undertakers. But at the same time, you know, you don't have a lot of shopping malls, you know, you don't have a lot of consumer products. And McDonald's has more expansion in China, you know, in Southeast Asia, rather than over there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, we have in our studios over here Ken Soong, who's talking to us this morning, this afternoon about his book, Migrating to Australia. Good man. It's not a book that condemns Australia in any way. No, it's a book about your thinking and what you think about when you preconceive or what you think about when you're going and you think it's going to be like this, it's going to be like that, it's going to be like that. So he's preparing you so you don't get a culture shock later on and stuff like that, right?
Exactly right. Right. Thanks for putting it this way, Nigel. In fact, this is precisely what we want to do.
Right.
If you look at the book here, you know, we have a little sheep here because this book, I mean, it sounds like meh, you know, so good meh, like a
Good
sheep.
meh.
Yeah, meh. And then at the same time, this sheep actually represents us because
Right.
we always being, restricted with this herd mentality.
So
Right?
follow the sheep.
Yeah, exactly
Okay.
right, exactly right.
Very nice cover. Interesting. Okay, we're going to come back with Ken Soong over here. We're going to talk to him some more right after Top Loader on Traxx Momentum, Traxx FM. Okay?
Thanks, Nigel. You make me so comfortable.
No, no,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
have a
yeah,
good
pro.
time. Let's talk about some of the funny things that people, you know?
Yeah, yes.
Nigel, you just read it and you record it for me later.
Can, no problem. Sure.
You save it under Nigel Casey Production.
Can. Nigel Casey Production. On
It
voice.
sounds like
Nigel / Casey, then you masuk dalam production,
Why don't I put Qatar Airways and then Casey?
can lah.
Alright?
It sounds like a company.
Did you send it to me?
Yeah, let me just
Oh,
check
okay,
this
alright.
one, yeah.
Okay.
You just do it
Look
like
at her
that.
going through my emails.
Just to check.
Okay.
Thanks, and the extra books, only this. Maybe, are you bringing us a copy?
Yes.
I would like to
That's
read that
for you.
book.
Yes. Thanks for taking interest. That's why I bring two.
Read, okay?
I do read, okay?
I do
Do you
read.
have the tamu pass or
Yes, I have it.
pelawat?
Yes, I have it here with me.
Thank you, guys. Wow, so nice.
Okay. So when you want to go out,
Yes.
you just tag it as a black small
I don't
button
know.
that you tag.
Oh, then the door
Right
opens.
inside, like you just from the toilet, then
Yeah.
the out.
I think
Oh, go out from there.
our
Okay.
name forever, you know,
No
because
problem.
they're just giving
Yes.
us
So I'll see
they
you
have to have
Yeah, some
something.
other time. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thanks
Don't
problem.
Thanks so much.
I
Yeah.
mention it. I said they can give us a call. If they call, I write the names
Okay,
down.
take
They don't
care.
call,
Don't talk.
I just tell you lah.
I would just pass them the names, but don't need because
I understand.
we don't want to get into trouble, right?
I just want to give them the
Yes,
website.
Yeah, you have to mention that. Then if they want to like no more, then this one.
Yeah, it's just that actually. This one I'll mention it. Okay, thank you, Kat.
Thanks, Nigel.
Thank you.
Cut.
It's no point. You give it to Nigel, he doesn't read.
For you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks for taking
You
interest.
need to autograph.
Oh, no lah.
No. I wish us.
Cut number.
What do you mean I don't read? You are?
Ida. You can write Ida.
Okay.
Kak Ida. Yay!
Toastmasters.
I got an autograph.
You joined the Toastmasters?
His father is
Oh.
Brian Green.
I see.
Toastmaster.
Oh,
My
right.
father wrote the second book already.
Yeah.
Is Kong Yu gonna interview him?
I see.
Why not?
Actually.
I have his first. Was that his first book? Public speaking. I have his book.
You have the first one, yeah.
He did sign it, by the way.
Is
But
it?
I'm not going to get his son to sign it. No.
No lah. He'll be coming down. Ask him to.
His father is also a writer,
Right.
public speaking. So I did get him to sign. I knew him before
Yeah.
I knew the son.
She knew my father a long time.
Luckily,
That's why I
I
have
knew
to
the
be
father
nice to her.
first. Imagine you know the father first before you know the son because
No, the artistic, talent runs in the family.
yes.
Okay, leave Ken Soong alone. I'm going out there.
Okay,
Thanks a
thank
lot,
you so
Thanks,
much.
thank you,
Yes,
thank you.
I will read this.
Thank you,
So I was asking you, is he giving a copy to us?
Thank you.
12:36 right here on Traxx Momentum. We'll get back to Ken over here as soon as Norlida stops harassing him. Okay. Welcome back to Traxx Momentum. Norlida is our producer. Ken Soong is our guest in the studios. He wrote this book along with his brother Michael Soong, and it's called Migrating to Australia. Good meh. And there's a picture of a sheep over there to further emphasize that meh. Okay, so how are the sheep over there?
It's doing fine.
Yeah. Well, here's another question I have of you. Is there that little thing that goes on between Australians and New Zealanders? I mean, does Australia think it's a lot better than New Zealand? Does New Zealand think it's a lot better than Australia?
Yes. Always, yeah, that's right. I've been to New Zealand one time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's right. And they say, oh, from Australia,
They always have that argument, right?
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like Malaysia, Singapore. Chicken rice is ours. No, it's ours.
Exactly.
But either way, we share everything, so it's all right. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been there for so many years already, and you came back and you wrote this book over here as a guide to a lot of people who might have so many questions, and I think a lot of people do have questions. What about when they're applying for it? Some people do get duped.
Yes.
As in,
yes.
They think that they're going to go there and they get promised by other people who tell them, okay, send me this money and then send me that fee later on and stuff.
Yeah.
And then in the end, nothing happens.
That's right.
Talk about that.
Okay. First of all, I mean, they should start, shopping around for the right agent. Usually the agent will do a, free assessment, and then they do the point system, right? And if they think your point is like, you have a realistic chance of getting the permanent residence, they would then say that we do it stage by stage, maybe in 3 stages. So after one stage, you pay a certain amount, so that would be more likely the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
But if you come across some agents that say that we have special connections and therefore we charge you a bit higher, but the good thing is you will sure get it. These are people who actually prey on those who don't meet the points. So therefore they have this. They dream about having that PR so
Right.
much. They thought the price is worth it, but it's a big risk that you have to take.
Because what would happen? I mean, what would happen? Give people an idea what would happen. I mean, you pay money, and then at the end of it, they say you don't qualify for it.
Okay, I can't
Is
say.
that it?
Yeah,
not all of them.
Not all of them.
We're not generalizing everybody in this whole topic over here this morning, folks. Please bear that in mind. We're also not saying that Australia is not the place to go, but we're saying that a lot of times, a lot of people get, let down by these thoughts. It's like you think the girl next door loves you, but she doesn't.
Exactly,
And then,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
and then go on.
Yeah.
So people apply for these and then they don't get. I mean, it's not approved at the end.
Yeah, that's right. You see, I've been away for 9 years, so I can't really say exactly the situation here. But in my perspective, right, I find that the agents that are advertising right now here in the mainstream media, I think they are doing quite well because first of all, Malaysians who actually migrate, a lot of them are white collars, so the agents know they know stuff as well because they can go to the website anytime.
Right.
immi.gov.au or something like that. Or you just type Australian Immigration Department. You get a whole set of information that tells you everything.
Okay.
So even without going to an agent, you sort of know your chances. In fact, I have tried looking at the New Zealand, website. It's also almost similar,
Right.
They do a pre-assessment for you. You don't even have to go to the agent to do that. But if you want to talk about the pitfalls and traps, there are some unscrupulous people like that I got to hear about when I live in Australia over the last decade, because I'm teaching in a college. So not one college, but several colleges. So some colleges, they actually have a lot of these overseas students, and we hear stories how these overseas students got conned. Because not only you need to have the right qualifications, but you also need to have the right work experience. And nobody will give you the right work experience when you are just a graduate, especially you come from an overseas country, that they don't view it as being on par with them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just to give an idea, even British doctors, they need to do their, medical examination, or no, I mean, they need to do their professional examination, to get the right permit to practice in Australia, because, the medical association is also a very strong union and all that, very protective. Australia is a country that's very protective of their own industry.
So in some cases, they go there thinking they're going to get one job and they get something else after that.
Exactly. Sometimes they even pay, employer to pretend to employ them.
Oh,
You see, they pay one lump sum and then they keep 20%. All they do is that we take your money and we pay you. So this is a pay slip, and then after 2 years, you can apply, use this as a record. And they
for
get
citizenship, yeah?
exactly,
Oh,
exactly for permanent residents, so that they can move on to citizenship.
we don't want that to happen to you, yeah, folks? Yeah. And what else are people getting duped in? How are people getting duped?
I mean, people do all sort of things to get all the things they want. I mean, I have overheard personally, these people talking on the train, like how they try to talk to the immigration, or get an immigration agent, and then create something that is not true. For example, now gay rights and all that is really, really strong in Australia. So they do also recognize same-sex couple and things like that. So you live with John from Malaysia live with Jack from Australia, and then they declare themselves as partners, even though they are not really partners,
Yeah,
just to get what they want.
right.
And sometimes people will pay $30,000 to have a marriage, yeah, quote unquote marriage.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right. So that they get to stay there and do that, right?
yeah, that's right, that's
That's
right.
right. So, and what are the things that we're taking for granted that we have in Malaysia? I mean, for
okay.
somebody who might,
All right.
what are the things that we take for granted about our own country?
Okay. First of all, right, we see ourselves as hardworking and ambitious. Want to move on to a better life. So therefore, we migrated. We migrated in the 30s. When our career could have taken off here in Malaysia, but we thought no, we want to do it in Australia, right? Not really looking at the context, right? Is it suitable for us personally or not, right? So my advice is, we take for granted here in Malaysia the economic freedom. Now, we always think freedom is about political freedom, freedom to speak, right? Freedom not to be arrested after speech, and things like that.
Yeah.
But besides that, we have other sort of freedom, like economic freedom. We are easy, it's very easy for us to start a business, right? In Malaysia, if you are efficient, if you are effective, you really make your money, because it's more free market than places like in Australia. What do I mean by that? Because in the Western world today, right, that free market enterprise ideology is no longer existent. It's just a marketing gimmick. The reason America, Australia, were so successful economically was because 100 years ago there wasn't so much regulation. Government was small. Anyone can start a business without a permit. All you need to do is to provide better service than your competitors, and you can move forward and you become
Right.
big. Today, the way to compete is to pay your way to get, the permit, to lobby your way to get the license. Look at Washington, D.C., it's all about lobbying. You got a big lobby, then you got a big business. It's no longer about providing the best services,
That's
to
right.
the people. But in Malaysia, I'm not saying because the government is better or whatever. It's just so that we are in this developmental stage where everything is not so much in place yet, where the government is not so entrenched in all different parts of our lives. You see, I just come to realize I'm still learning, you see, because of the few years there, that, not much to do as a teacher, so we read a lot. Good and bad, In Malaysia, there's so many things to do, you don't have time to even read. But in Australia, you just do some reflective work. So we realize that a place where the government is so regulated, is not good for the individual. The economic freedom is really, really, very small.
That's right.
For example.
That's right.
Yeah.
So many a time, many Malaysians who say, "I'm going to go to Australia." What are you going to do that? I don't know, open a roti canai stall. I mean, they just talk like that, right?
Exactly.
But what is the reality of opening a roti canai stall?
Okay, now the reality is like that. We can't open a store. We have to have a proper restaurant. Maybe the size of this, studio here.
which is pretty big. We have some of the biggest studios, folks.
Exactly. And then, you got to pay the council for the car park. They're going to charge you according to how many seatings you have. So just to give you an idea, like 100 seatings, in a restaurant, they will tell you, the council say, you will take up this much space of parking, and we're going to have a parking levy for you, right? And you just have to pay $300,000 for that. You see? That's why I say, to the super rich, it doesn't concern them.
Yes.
For people like myself, I will have to think, if I am the man with the money, why don't I do it in Malaysia? I don't even have to do a thing, I can employ the right people to do the right job at the right price.
Yeah.
But over there, you can't pay the right price because you have a minimum wage. That's why in Victoria, we have, the 16 years highest unemployment rate, youth unemployment. The reason is because youths are not supposed to get paid so much because they're not so experienced.
Right.
Yeah. But because of the minimum wage, they have to be paid this much. So the companies rather not open a business and not employ anyone, and they do the work themselves. I do have a lawyer friend, right, who ran a news agency, but he had to do everything. So after 2 years, he figured out, I might as well get a job because I bought the business and I work in my business and I can't afford to employ anyone. Just do a quick fact. If you employ someone $80,000 a year, right, that's the package, you end up paying out of pocket, insurance and everything, $130,000 and $140,000. You see, so they rather not employ full-time staff. So I can't get a full-time job. You see, I'm not saying I'm not saying everybody don't have full-time job. You see, I'm saying that other people, yes, they are, but you have to be very, very, very good. But I do see someone who are very good, right, many times better than me, right, mathematics professor from Hong Kong University, selling mobile phones in mobile phone stores. Even, exactly. So who am I to say that, I'm not a sour grape case because, there are people much smarter than me.
Right.
People try harder than me. So
Yes.
I can only say I'm lucky I still have a job. But I don't get a full-time job because, the university will never pay you, and it never get so many full-time job at the moment. Will never employ so many full-time staff at the moment because of
Right.
all this regulation.
Yes.
You see, Malaysia now, right, it's a developing country. We still have a lot of opportunities. But this window of opportunity is slowly closing down. In fact, it's closing down fast. Come next month, you have the GST. What does it mean? It means that we are getting more and more closer to the developed world. The way they do things, everything's become regulated. One day, if we go to Sungai Klang or what, throw a fishing rod, we probably have to pay permit. And this is exactly what's happening in Melbourne. We even have to pay a yearly permit to be able to fish, in any river. You see?
Around, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
That is the thing. So my thinking is very much influenced, or we read some books by people like Jim Rogers, Mark Faber, right, who was interviewed in Leader Ronomics a few years ago. So they've seen, places around the world, there are investors and all that. They say, people like Jim Rogers says that, if in the 1800s you are smart, you go to, London. If you're smart in 1900, you go to New York City. But if you're smart in year 2000, you should be in Asia. You see?
And you stay in Malaysia.
Yeah, that's right. And then,
Yeah.
how smart were we, moving away from Malaysia in this millennium,
That's
so
right.
so we realize that we are not smart at all. I always tell my students, Australians, locals, internationals, I tell them, I say
right.
that, go out and see the world, find your place, position yourself, where you can, tap your full potential. So Australian government talk about Asian century and everything. I say one thing, Asian century doesn't just belong to the Asian. Just because I say it, doesn't mean that because I'm an Asian and I'm so prideful. It has nothing to do with me if I move away from Asia. Asian century, so what? But smart Australians who go there, yes, they speak the language, yes, they are benefiting from it. So the main message of our book is, I realized that when I was in Australia, I see Germans, I see British, students or friends, Swiss. I mean, before they come down to Australia, they've been to maybe four or five European countries, right? Or maybe East Asia, West Asia, other countries before they come down to Australia. But in Malaysia, especially the middle and upper middle, right? They haven't been to anywhere. But first country is Australia.
Australia.
Maybe they've been to Singapore. But I see Thais too. Especially the educated ones.
Yes.
They've been to America, they've been to Australia, but they don't know what's going on in Malaysia. They don't know what's going on in Myanmar.
Right.
You see how much opportunity has been missed. Just because we are not proud of this. I mean, we take things for granted. We talk about freedom, but freedom to vote is just a tiny fraction of the big concept of freedom, economic freedom to to reap your own rewards,
Right.
your own efforts, to reap the rewards of your own efforts. I mean, how many months are we paying taxes? If you think about it this way in Australia, maybe 4 months.
Right.
In a year we work for the government.
So a lot of people not doing their homework before they actually decide on something like this.
Exactly. Again, you are saying it so aptly. You see, I mean, an economy that is so controlled by the government. What do we call that? In China, we call that communism. But we forgot to call that communism in the West because the West don't call it as such.
That's right.
Because in communist country, 100% of whatever effort you have is belong to the government. You see.
Right.
So sometimes we don't appreciate our own advantages here in this country.
Right. And you wrote about that in your book, right, Ken? You have?
Yes,
you have some parts you touched on it?
Yes, I have some parts too.
Right.
Yeah, but I want to say it's more geared towards like the daily things, like how they can find the right property, how to avoid going to a bad school, because we talk about education system,
right?
But we forgot about the drug problems and discipline problems in Australia or in the West.
So the stuff that we don't see, we always look at the bright side. Like if the grass is greener on the other side, the water bill is higher too, isn't it? So yeah, there you go. So a lot of interesting topics in this book over here, Migrating to Australia. Good Mare by Ken Soong and Michael Soong. Michael Soong is Ken Soong is in the studios this morning talking to us.
Thanks.
And telling us about his book. You might want to go out there and grab yourself a copy. Available at all responsible bookstores.
Yes, exactly. Popular, MPH, Kinokuniya,
okay.
Malaysian and Singapore.
They all have your book over there, right?
Yes, 25 ringgit.
25 ringgit only. That's very cheap for you because you're going to make a decision that could change your life for a long time. You would advise them to read it first, yeah?
Exactly, because if they read this book and they still like Australia, then they will like Australia most likely.
That's right.
But if they read this book and they thought, either side,
right,
maybe they should go there for 1-2 visits. Then they decide.
There you go.
Don't just jump the.
That's right. And Ken is talking specifically about Australia because he knows Australia and he is working there right now. We're not picking on Australia and talking about Australia as no, don't go to Australia, stay away, please.
Not at all.
Not in any way should you pick it up as that way. Yeah, where he's just making you see or open your eyes to what questions you should be having or to ask yourself.
Exactly. Overall, it's still a very good experience. There are a lot of friendly people and there are a lot of things Malaysians can learn from the Australians too.
That's right. Yeah. So Ken Soong, thank you so much. We wish you all the best. We look forward to your second book. What's your next book going to be on?
Okay, next book is called Making It in Australia.
You already did. You're already planning it.
Yeah, we actually interviewed a few people from different walks of life,
right,
who are making it in Australia, like different areas of their career, different areas of their lives.
Fantastic. Yeah. So we can look forward to that as well, yeah?
Yes.
So go out there, get yourself a copy of Ken Soong and Michael Soong's Migrating to Australia. Good man. And you can have an enjoyable read over there. It does look very enjoyable, very simple, down-to-earth language as well inside there. So you could just enjoy it. And I wish you all the best, Ken Soong.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And thank you for being here. Anything else you'd like to add on before you leave?
Okay, yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank the Gelap Budaya publisher, for giving us a chance. This is our very first, little book. So that give us a chance to try out our work. Yeah, and number two is really appreciate Nigel, right, for making this such a pleasurable experience.
It's been a pleasure having you here, and thank you for enlightening us on some of the things that, like you said, we take for granted. What we don't realize is we got some good stuff over here, yeah?
Definitely.
What's your favorite Malaysian makan that you're going to go for after this interview?
Okay, I have chi chong fan, so
Chi chong
maybe,
fan.
yeah, and char kway teow, and nighttime I will go for nasi kandar.
Nice. Okay, perfect. Perfecto mundo. Thank you so
Everything
much,
planned out.
Kenzo. It's been a pleasure having you in our studios. We look forward to hearing from you in the future about more
Thanks.
stuff. And thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Fair dinkum, mate.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're okay, yeah? You're good,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you have such a interesting job, huh?
Oh, I do.
Everyone envies your job.
I do, but it's pretty much like what your case is, right? Like in my case, a lot of people say, why don't you go to Astro Station, join their radio, they're more popular and all that stuff. People get influenced by, they see like, Astro trucks, very, the nice, the Ranger and all that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
here, because we're government, we're not allowed to have that. Because if we spend any money, guess who's paying for it? It's taxpayers' money.
Yeah, exactly.
So you want us to have all the splashy cars and all the advertising everywhere, and people say, wow, very good, huh? But you don't know it's your money, huh?
Yeah, that's
so
true,
we're
that's
not
true.
allowed to have all that. We don't have all that. But on the other part, we have absolute freedom here. A lot of people don't realize that. I went to Light and Easy.
Okay.
I was working there for a few months.
Yeah.
I was also the producer of the morning show with Richard and Sarah.
All right.
And I didn't like it
I
because
see.
there's no freedom.
Right.
And then like you said, like after I realized the grass is so much greener here, I
Yes.
came back.
All right. I see.
Came
I
back.
see.
Yeah, I left this place for 3 years and then I came back.
Wow. I see.
But it's so much better here. Although you have the government crap that you have to.
Everywhere is the same,
You have to
isn't it?
take.
Yes,
you have to
yes.
give all that info and stuff like that. But besides that, as a job as a radio broadcaster, nowhere else gives you the freedom. Traxx.
I see.
Yes,
And that makes the program more interesting.
And that and that makes your you don't have that feeling like go back to work today you don't have that feeling.
I
You
see, I
just look
see.
forward to every day you come.
Right. So
Every
not so
time.
commercialized, huh?
Definitely not. Like the other stations, even their callers who call up also, you have a book to pick the number out and call.
I see. Very business, huh?